What's going on, nerds? Welcome back to the Monster Bass channel. I'm Jeff with the Aggressively Average Anglers. That's Paul.
I'm the other one.
The more aggressively average angler. And today,
extra average.
The extra average angler. And today we're about to go river fishing. Look over yonder. That's where we're going to be in just a couple of minutes here. I want to take a second just to talk to you guys about leader line. Now, here's the funny thing. Come over here. Check this out. First of all, chocolate milk. Second of all, how chocolatey is this milk? As you can see, it's you can see really good in the sun there. It's kind of dark water. It's dirty water. Hi! See how he waved at us?
No.
He was just like, hi guys. In a super dirty water situation like this, leader line becomes a little less necessary. However, it can definitely still help you. What I want to talk about is if you guys are fishing ponds, if you're fishing lakes, if you're fishing mostly clear to stained water, you guys might be missing a lot of bites when it comes to using or not using your leader. In this video, let's talk about types of leader lines, when we're gonna use them, and how we actually tie them up on the setup that you're using. Let's get into it. Number one, you need your line, right? So what kind of line are we using? In this case, if we're talking about leader line, it depends on the type of lure that you want to use. So let's say we're doing top water fishing. If I want something floating up on top, I want line that floats. We're going monofilament line or your copolymers, right? That's going to be a better choice in that situation. If I'm fishing underneath, say I got this Ned rig right here, since we're on the river, that's what I'm going to be using a lot today, then I'm going to want fluorocarbon line. Fluorocarbon line underwater is basically invisible. It doesn't have any stretch though, and it doesn't float. The nice thing about that is if I'm fishing bottom, I don't really want it or need it to float. It's gonna help me put the lure where I actually want it to be in the strike zone for the fish, right? So I'm using that most of the time when I'm fishing bottom or when I'm fishing more finesse style techniques as well.
Me too.
So if I'm going ultralight, if I'm going BFS, there's always a fluorocarbon leader on there because I am throwing those lighter lures and I don't want that line to really stand out. And a lot of the time when I'm fishing those types of lures, and this is kind of faded, but you can see this yellow line here, this is high vis yellow. That is so that I can actually see those strikes whenever I'm putting that lure out there in those situations. I want to be able to detect the strikes. High vis can help with that. So when it comes to your line choice, go with whatever companies you guys are most comfortable with, what you have the most experience with, and what has worked best for you. What we've used the most is this right here. Actually, this year it's been like our standard. This is from Soft Steel. It's the Tatakai, and straight up Japanese fluorocarbon line. Very strong, very abrasion resistant, something that I like to see in fluorocarbon line.
Another thing about the Tatakai, it's more expensive. They have a cheaper version.
They do.
But the fluorocarbon that comes from Japan is it's just better. You pay more for it because it's just better. And what it is it's the abrasion resistance.
It is.
It's worth every penny.
That's the difference, is you're not breaking off as many times on lures. So not losing the lures, you're saving money. You spend the money on the fluorocarbon.
Also,
or you just lose the lures.
Also, it has this little saver thing right here.
Clutch.
Every single one that doesn't come with this awesome saver, you guys are fired.
Is now dead to me. Other options you got out there, things that we like, Seaguar Red Label is a good option. This is my 4-pound test. This is what I'm using for the ultralight and the BFS setups as a leader. So after we have selected our fluorocarbon line of choice or our monofilament line of choice, what we got to do is we have to attach it to our main line. If you just run full fluoro or mono on your reel, then you're done. Check, complete, great job. If you're running braid like we like to run, whether it's on my bait casters or on my spinning reels, I like to run a braid line. What that does for me is it's a little higher sensitivity, castability is a little bit better, and get more distance, more accuracy out of that. And of course, it's braid, so it's stronger. So I love having that. And the fact that you can just toss on a leader means that I can switch to, a more floaty line with the monofilament, a little more stretch. Braid obviously has 0 stretch. Or I can switch to the fluorocarbon leader, which again makes it invisible. It's with no stretch, puts me in the strike zone where I want this lure to be. So you can just choose, right? And you still have that braid backer. So when it comes to actually attaching it to this braided line, you can pick a couple different knots. There's obviously a million knots out there. There are some that are definitely better than others. People are gonna say this knot is better than that knot. This guy likes an FG knot.
No, I like I've moved on. But here's the thing about the
FG
connection
knot.
Yeah.
You do an FG, don't you?
No, not anymore. I like, well, it depends on the rod. It depends on the rod. So here's the thing with the FG knot. Go look up a tutorial, just Google it up. FG knot. The thing about an FG knot is it's very, very small. It's probably the smallest.
Why would that matter?
Leader line connection that you can make. The reason is when you get smaller guides like these monster bass rods, they have really nice high-end guides.
Not too small.
Not too small, but they're on the smaller side.
Yeah.
Or maybe if you're an ultralight fisherman, you're just gonna get smaller guides. When you cast those out, every time you cast, there's abrasion that's happening where the knot is hitting the side of the guide.
So if you guys can see that knot right there, you want this as small as humanly possible to get through those guides without clipping, right?
Because it's gonna break down your knot eventually. That's just gonna happen. So even if you tied a perfect knot, it's gonna break your knot eventually.
Yep.
The other thing too is sometimes it's gonna ruin your casting. So the FG knot's nice when you have super small guides. I only use it when I've got micro guides on anymore. But that's all I can say.
He just likes to put his pinky out when he ties his FG knot.
Like
Other options out there, you can use a double uni knot, something I use a lot in fly fishing. And what I personally love to do, braid to fluoro or braid to mono, is I prefer the Alberto knot. It's just super easy, super fast to tie. If you guys are interested, just quick Google will show you tons and tons of guides. There's lots of videos out there that you guys can learn these knots with. Highly recommended though. If you're like semi-okay to average at tying knots, the Alberto knot is perfect for you. And it is very strong, holds the connection really well, and it typically can be tied very small, so it gets through those guides just fine.
The nice thing about the double uni, which is the one I like to use, and also the one that Jeff's talking about, the Alberto, is that when you tie them, you know when you've tied them correctly. And even if you don't do a great job, the way that the knot is constructed, it won't just come undone.
No.
And you can also clip both of them very close to the knot, which makes
all
them,
the way up to the knot.
Makes them very small. The one thing about the FG knot where people have trouble is they'll tie the whole knot and
if done incorrectly,
it looks perfect, but if done incorrectly, it just comes undone, and you'll be like, "What the fuck?
What happened?"
You get very mad. So that's probably the biggest thing with the FG knot where people get scared is they think they've done it right and then it comes undone on them. With the double uni, just because the way the knot is tied, even if you did a garbage job, it's still probably gonna hold. So that's kind of a benefit, especially if you're new and you're just getting into using leaders. That can help you out.
Yep, 100%. Now, something I should definitely point out, as I mentioned before, something like having fluorocarbon leader makes that line basically invisible to the fish. A lot of people are going to argue against this. You're going to hear the pros and cons. You're going to hear, oh, you don't need leaders. It's not, the fish aren't line shy. They'll put up with it. They'll still bite whatever you're throwing. They'll say, oh, you're throwing all these flashy lures and you're worried about them seeing your line. That's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. Listen, people have opinions. That's what's great about this world.
Comma, man.
Comma, man. Our opinion, man. And the opinion of many fantastic anglers that are phenomenally better than us is that you should always use a leader. I remember seeing a video a long time ago by Tactical Bassing. On that video, they were talking about leaders, and basically the verdict of that video was you 100%, you are missing fish if you're not using a leader. That's it, period. The end. Mic was dropped and I was like, okay. I was fishing straight braid for the longest time, not really concerned with it, and after switching over to leaders, I don't know, placebo effect, right? That was my favorite comment ever. We had a guy just say placebo effect. So I guess, you know, good for him as well. But I was catching, the number of catches we were getting went up by switching to leaders. So it's something that I recommend to everyone. The other argument against it is always going to be it's extra time, it's an extra knot on the line, which means there's a potential for catastrophic failure. I hear you. Again, work on your knots. If you get good at something like the Alberto or the double uni, they take seconds to tie. I like to keep extra line on board, ready to go. We even came up, well, I'll give credit where credit's due. Paul found a great option for your leader lines that you can keep them stored and ready to go. Check this out. So Paul found this on the interwebs. This is actually something developed for more like tenkara fishing, where you have these pre-cut leaders. You can tie just by wrapping, or you just push these tabs through. You just wrap this line around a whole bunch of times. You can take your whatever length leader you want, wrap them up on there, write down the number, the pound test that they are. So I got 6 pound test on this side. There's actually 3 leaders there. And then 4 pound test on this side, another 3 leaders. So they're already pre-cut to length. Or the other option I like to do is I'll just go arm's width, right? So you can make your own choice. There's lots of other information on the internet around how long that leader should be. I typically go around 6 feet. I am 6 foot. If I stretch my arms out, that's about 6 feet. So I just pull off this much line, cut it, tie on my Alberto knot, and we're good to go.
You don't have to pre-cut them with those. You can just go and go and go and go. What I like about doing the full arm span is that's, for me, usually 2 leaders.
Yep.
So I know if I go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, it's 12 liters, and it's on that tiny little cart. So I know I've got like a good amount already on there.
Yep.
And then I'm not pulling too much or too little, and I always have a consistent idea of when I need to re-spool, because that's what will get you, is the line's so small and it's like invisible. You pull 4 or 5 off and you're like, wait, how many did I pull off? How many are left? What am I gonna, you know, if there's one in there, just one, 2 to 3 liters depending on how you tire. So that's always kind of comforting to know that you've got something in there, because let's admit it, anytime we have to refill something, we're not gonna do it.
No, we'll put it off as long as humanly possible. Well, there you go, guys. That's a lot of information about leader lines. Hopefully this video is helpful for you if you were trying to figure out if they're right for you or not, right for the situation you're fishing or not, and maybe get some ideas around how to tie them onto your main line and what types of, you know, leader material to go out and grab. Highly recommended. That's the verdict of this video. If I can tell you anything right now, it's that you should probably consider using leaders. I guarantee that you guys are missing some strikes that you otherwise wouldn't if you had a leader tied on. And to all my leader haters out there, that's fine too. You're neat. All right. Anyways, thanks for watching, you guys. Be sure to subscribe to Monster Bass, as well as go check out the Aggressively Average Anglers. We drop videos twice a week, and we do a live every single Wednesday, and we'd love to see you guys there and talk to you in chat. All right, that's all I got. I got a river to fish, so I'm gonna go throw this Ned while I wait for this dork over here to tie on his anchor. And I'll see you guys on the next video.